I think it's time for a coaching change. I don't know any other way to put it where I think this team is not learning from their mistakes. And I feel like if they continue on with Sheldon Keefe, it's going to be the same old episode when this season matters the most in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like the fact that they're 30 games and we have no clue which team's going to show up, and just the drastic highs and lows, it leads me down a path where it's like, I think there's somebody out there who can extract a bit more from this team and put them over the top. I don't know if you feel the same way right now.
Yeah, it might be a change of pace. You look at even like Craig Berube coming into St. Louis, and he just like kicked everybody in the butt and took that team out of the cellar to win a Stanley Cup. And I just don't see this inconsistent play year after year, right? Like Rosie made that comment the other day when we were shooting the fake holiday special about
Yes.
it's just like leafy things they do. And it's like, so like, if you define that term as like a leafy game, like, or a leafy team, you'd be like, oh yeah, one night they're going to look like the best team ever created. Then you watch the next game and they're just absolute dog shit.
Yeah,
So I think
Hutz,
that is the hardest.
they're not ready to play. They're not ready to play.
I agree.
Whose fault is that?
And I think that's the move. Like you need a guy that's going to come in and just be an absolute tornado. But at this point, like you can't, it's been the same thing over and over and over again. You can only point the fingers at the players in certain situations so many times here. It's got to be somebody else.
You're right. I just think it's unique to get your perspective. You're a former player in this league. Like, you know what's up. I just think it's like, it's a definition of insanity. And it's not Kyle Dubas's guy anymore. Brad Treliving's here. There's some really good options out there. Dean Evison, Craig Berube. I mean, Gerard Gallant, Claude Julien. Like, there's some guys who have won before. I don't care what kind of coach you want. But I think that the fact that we're staring here and looking, and I have no clue what's going to come up every game, game after game. It's like one game they're awesome, one game they're not. And this has been a story for years. Like leafy things. Like I always put this out on Twitter. You can make a top 10 leafy games just from the Sheldon Keefe era. Like it's insane to me, dude. Like I lose sleep at night thinking about how many times the Leafs get embarrassed. Granted, every team gets embarrassed. There's no shot in hell teams get embarrassed as much as the Toronto Maple Leafs. They can't lose normally. It's like you lose to a fucking Zamboni driver. You let Columbus score 5 straight goals and are down 5 Cobb. You lose to Arizona twice in a season. It's like game after game after game. And to me, it goes directly back to one person, and that's the coach. They're not ready to play. They need a new voice. They need somebody to pick them up because you can't fire an entire team. Like if you were to ask me on the record or off the record, I think they need a big time fucking trade, and one of the big boys needs to go. But that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in season at the least. You need somebody. You need a fresh voice in there. I'm tired of this.
No, I agree with you. And sometimes that's all it is, right? It's like, because they have, when you watch them play, like the ill preparedness at times is just devastating. But then when they are on, they're unbelievable, right? You just need someone that's going to take control. And I don't know how his relationship with everybody, you know what I mean? Obviously, Tavares is the leader in the room, but he's a quieter guy. It's not like he's in there every day going nuts, right? You have the guys to get it done. It's honestly tough to watch. Like it's one of those things where, can you legitimately think this team can win a Stanley Cup? And I think at this point, I think you're nuts if you think they can. Absolutely nuts the way that they've played. When you look at other teams that play, even like you look at LA and just the way that they play defensively, the way they have structure, the way that every time you turn the TV on, you're getting a team that they've dominated on the road. They've been, because they have structure, because everybody's bought in. When you watch Toronto, I don't get that feeling at all. And, you can pick on the goaltending, you can pick on their back end, but at some point, it goes to the guy running the bench every night.
Oh, definitely. Like, again, you make a good point in LA. They can lose the game 2-1, but they outshoot the opponent 40-18. Like, how many times do you leave a Leafs loss and be like, oh, you know what? They played well enough to win. Like, the New York Rangers game the other night, maybe. Like, I can't remember the last time the Leafs lost a game. I didn't think they felt they deserved a better fate. Like, they usually get steam kicked. Like, it's really, really frustrating because, again, this has been an ongoing thing for years, even dating back to Mike Babcock. And for as much as we dislike Mike Babcock in the hockey world, the guy was incredibly right with the players on this roster. He just called it early. And we're still seeing the fruits of the labor now. And they're going to cost another guy's job. Like, do I think Sheldon Keefe's a bad coach? No, I think he's an awesome coach. I think he's an excellent coach. But I think he's at the end of the runway here. It's just not working. And people will call me crazy because the record's insane. They're on pace for 105, 110 points every year. But I'm a guy who wants results in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And a team that's this inconsistent, I can't see them flipping a switch. They barely did it last year. I think many people would agree Tampa probably was the better team. The Leafs got some puck luck. Then they just completely sacked themselves in the second round. Florida got some good bounces the first 2 games. They didn't show up for game 3. Another prime example. Rosie always gets pissed because I bring up regular season doesn't matter, but it's a process. You have these games, and I lose my shit when they lose to Arizona and Chicago. It's all about preparation for those game 3s against Florida, and they failed last year. That's all I'll say. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosa. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.